Hey guys, welcome back. So here we are in that final recap video. We just spent 10 days in the land of fire and ice. Um, in this video, we'd like to go over a few things, dive into our finances just a little bit more, just to make sure we have a clear understanding on that, because I think that could really help some of you out in your planning if you're going to Iceland. We also want to go over some of the things that we thought went well or that we enjoyed, things that we would maybe do differently, and then see if we can think of anything that was just flat out not good, something maybe to avoid. But let's get into it and let's close this Iceland adventure out. Here's a breakdown of our expenses for our entire trip, and I've put them into categories rather than just by day. I thought it was maybe a little more useful this way. Um, This one here I had labeled special. I was maybe going to change it. I clearly didn't. This is just the camper van. So we paid 2,900 for the camper van. We bought this, or we paid for this in advance. So by the time we got to Iceland, this was already paid for. So that really took a huge load off of the total here. And I'll show you a different slide where I do remove those costs. But for transportation, most of this was the flight. So again, I'll show you a different one where we take that out as well. That was like $1,600, something like that, for the flight. And basically, the remaining was the Ubers we took when we were in Reykjavik. Food was a big one, and that one is real, as you see. So we spent about $1,500 on food for the entire week. We always try to do some estimates, and I had it pretty low, so clearly I was off. I was estimating somewhere between $500 and $800, and so we either tripled or doubled that, depending on which number you want to take there. For entertainment, most of this was the hot springs. We knew we were doing Blue Lagoon. We knew we were doing Sky Lagoon. We had those in the beginning, but we didn't have the other two. That was roped into here. This was also the Ice Cave tour, which we knew we wanted to do, but we weren't 100% sure if we were going to. So that was not pre-purchased. Souvenirs. The biggest one in here, it's kind of roped up, and I know on my slide I'd put the luggage thing was like 85. Kind of going through it again, I think I may have got that wrong, so I apologize. I do think it was higher. I think it was a little over 100 for the suitcase. So it does kind of fall into here, and so, had we not bought as much as well as I just don't think we repacked very well. Um, this number could have been lower. So I just want to point stuff like that out to you. Lodging. This was all of the campsites as well as the first night in the hotel. So that first night could have come out of here too. You could round up; it's about $200. Gas was gas. We spent $350 total, which I actually think this was not bad. For going around the entire country in a large camper van, I felt like this was pretty great. I have no issue with this. I think I may have mentioned it in the video, and if not, we did the calculations, right? Everything's of course in liters, and the Icelandic krona. But when we kind of did the conversion to gallons, it was somewhere around eight ish a gallon, 8.20, 8.30 a gallon, which is still high, trust me. But to go around an entire country for $350 of gas, I thought that was pretty cool. Extras. I'm trying to remember what I put under extras. I believe these are things, of course, that we didn't need to get, but that we decided to purchase. Yeah, so this doesn't fall under souvenirs. This was again just, oh, you know what some of this was is like our seat upgrades on the flight. I changed our seats. I maybe I was in vacation mode, but I was thinking, night before, I was like, you know what, let's sit a little closer to the front. We get off a little faster, and so parking was a big one. And this literally was just every time we parked. A lot of times it was basically $10 ish every time we parked, and sometimes it was a lot. And then some of those stops you saw was very brief, but it still was. We only hit the tolls really the one time coming out of that tunnel after we left Akureyri. Or no, when we were coming into Akureyri. Um, Mars got hit with a couple of currency fee things, on some transactions. So the tip on this is if you're traveling from the States, at least, I'm not quite sure how it works with other countries. I assume the same. But the tip we were told is when you're traveling over there, when you pay, however it is, doesn't matter, credit card, debit card, tap, but through the device, it's going to ask you which currency. You always want to pick Icelandic. Um, but a couple of times Mars picked US and she got defeat. Grand total, everything encompassed here. Um, for both of us, we spent $9,600. So this was our entire Iceland trip. This was basically the 10 days. So we were, almost $1,000 a day. That is really high, much higher than most of our normal trips here. A lot of times for our trips here, I might go as high as 500 a day, and even that's kind of pushing it and maybe just padding it just for some extra stuff. So this was definitely outside of our normal zone here. Um, and the graph, just kind of a nice visual, I thought. We split, so in case you guys didn't realize, we probably don't talk about this much, but Mars and I definitely keep our finances separate, but of course we share everything. So we just don't have joint accounts. We think personally, I think it'll get more confusing. So it's a lot easier for us just to have our own separate thing when we basically do our finances personally. We go over hers, make sure everything's square, balancing our checkbook, so to speak, and then I do mine. So it just keeps it easy that way. I know others have joints, and listen, it's all cool. I think whichever way works for you. But I thought it was just interesting to see. And this is kind of typical. I'll generally shoulder most of it, but then we'll transfer money and stuff to each other. So we end up kind of splitting it. But a lot of times too, it's just easier for me to do certain things. So that's kind of why it's broken down like this. All right, so now we're looking at the, I don't know, cleaned up version, if you will, taking out anything we purchased prior to going to Iceland. Um, so we took out the rental van, we took out the air flight, and we took out the tickets to Blue Lagoon and Sky Lagoon. Um, so all those are gone. So it changes it. And I do think this matters. So again, our total was about 9,000 or so, right? Almost 10,000. So, and now we're just under 5,000. So that means almost half of our trip though was paid before we even got there. So on our trip, as we were traveling around, what you guys saw in the videos, basically, this is what we spent. And so to me, this does make a difference. Having all those expenses already paid for, and I don't just mean we put it on a card. I mean we paid for it, like it was paid off. So by the time we actually took flight, in fact, other than me adding the seat thing, the seat changes for our flights, our credit cards were zero. We only have one card a piece anyway, and they were zero before we went on this trip. So this was basically what we spent. So just do a quick breakdown. You can see here the graph looks very different. Food is still the biggest cost. Um, uh, $1,500 again. We did eat out a little more than I thought we would, but it's funny. Having said that, we actually ate in the van quite a bit. You saw us. We did sandwiches on many occasions. I'd say 4 or 5 occasions. Mars cooked meals for dinners. So you can imagine what this number would be if you were eating out every day, kind of thing. So keep that in mind. Souvenirs, of course, is subjective. And again, I cleaned this up a little bit. Took some of that stuff out that were we shouldn't have had to have bought. So I changed this number just a little bit. Everything else is a good reflection on what we spent. But yeah, I had said earlier in the other video, I wanted to go over this with you and really show you the difference. And so this was really the number that we spent while traveling around Iceland. But obviously both are important. So the overall trip was, just under 10,000. So the overall trip was just under 10,000, and again, that was basically for 10 days. And then this is what we spent traveling around. So if you have further questions, because again, I'm trying to keep this at kind of a high level here. I don't want to bore you with too many numbers, but I also want it to be a useful tool for anyone who's attempting to travel to Iceland. And of course, check exchange rates, right? They're going to change things like that. But this is what we did. All right, so that was our finances. I think the biggest takeaway of that was, we knew it was expensive. We knew things were going to be pricey, especially food, right? Since most everything's imported. When you eat out, it's going to be expensive. I think I underestimated how much we were going to eat out. Especially when we got to Reykjavik and we didn't have the van. I guess I should have known that we didn't have the van. But here's the thing: I don't regret anything that we did. I think the choices we made while we were there were the right ones, and I think we enjoyed ourselves and we had a great time. So I think really, knowing what the costs are going to be, I think helps a lot. I think really if what we did is kind of up your alley, and you're like, hey, I like that. I want to go to the tomato greenhouse place. I want to go to these places along the way that we stopped at, or things similar to that. Just know this is what it costs. So save up for that, or at least budget for that. However it is that you do your thing. That'd be my advice. I wouldn't change anything that we did. Um, I know I was trying to think of some good questions that answer. So I think let's start with were there anything that we didn't anticipate, whether it was an experience or maybe the weather or anything like that. And so I think the biggest thing is getting kind of shut down and trapped in a way in Vic because of the storm. Now we were aware this could happen, but the fact that it did, I think, was sort of a surprise, right? I mean, it's a roll of the dice. You don't know for sure. So I think the fact that it did really kind of surprised us in a way. At least caused us to think outside the box during that time. So one of my favorite things was the black sand beach. I just thought it looked spectacular. I liked the one in Vic, and then I also liked the beaches again when we were by Glacier Lagoon and stuff too. Um, and I think it was just the visual aspect of it. The other thing I really enjoyed was just seeing the snow everywhere. I thought it made the landscapes just gorgeous. I know we probably said the same same boring descriptives over and over, um, but it really was beautiful. We enjoyed that, and I think that was one of my favorite things. And I think lastly, things that I enjoyed about it or that stood out to me. I think the ice cave thing was really unique. I enjoyed it, but I think it helped a lot that we had a guide that we got along with. He was really funny. He was very personable. He's a people person. Um, and I think without that, it could have changed that entire experience. Not that going to see like the ice caves or walking around on a glacier isn't cool on its own, because there's definitely a lot of merit there. But I think he really helped seal the deal. So big thanks to him. And I think those are my top three things that I enjoyed while we were in Iceland. If I was to list, maybe let's try to find three things that either we didn't like or that we would do differently. One is packing. We definitely overpacked. We brought all kinds of warm gear and stuff like that, and for me, I could have done without it. Not altogether. I was glad I had the thermals and stuff and the layers in the beginning, but as time went on, I definitely needed it less. Could have easily just been in a sweatshirt or something like that. And then I had several different waterproof jackets and pants and other things, and some of it I didn't even wear. So now that we've done it, I have a different approach that I would take. I really didn't wear the beanies I brought to and a few other things. So some of that completely wouldn't take. I never got to fly my drone either, unfortunately. I took my drone. It was in my backpack. Never got to fly it once. The winds were always too strong. So that was a huge bummer. Packed that thing all around through the airport and everything else, and we did not get to use it. So I think if I went back, I would just skip it. As much as I'd like to get that footage, it's so much up in the air to the elements. I just wouldn't take the gamble again. Um, I think the other thing, and that played into us getting that additional piece of luggage too. I think had we not packed so much, when we repacked everything, it would have fit in better because we really didn't buy a lot of souvenirs. We certainly didn't buy anything large. So the fact that we ended up needing that other suitcase was a little baffling, really. So I think that would have saved us there as well. The other thing, I think I would have just budgeted better. We were way off on the food and we were way off on the entertainment. I just didn't know we were going to go to four hot springs. Granted, two of them were paid in advance, as I mentioned, but Um, I think you just keep ramping that up, right? Just have a huge budget, and I know that's easier said than done, but I think that's something that we would do differently now that we've done it. And then lastly, and I think Mars and I both agree, would be is to get a larger van. I did get a level up, if you will. This was not the smallest van. This was designed for, I think it said 3 to 4 people, but I thought we fit in here pretty comfortably. Now, having said that, more space would have been nice. Like to be able to stand up, and we're not tall. We're both like 5'4". If we were able to stand up, that would have been fantastic. I think that was one of the big things we noticed once we got to Reykjavik. Having traveled around and spent all that time in the van, was just being able to stand upright and get dressed and things like that. So I think those are the 3 things that maybe we would do a little differently that we just didn't know we needed or didn't know that we would like. What about things that we just didn't like, or yeah, we would almost rate as bad, right? I'm happy to say there's nothing that jumps out immediately, like, oh my god, can't believe XYZ. Um, I would say be cautious on where you stop just because of the parking. Like I said, that added up quite a bit actually. So kind of watch out for that. Um, I think there are some places, for example, like some of the geyser type stuff. Um, Maybe it's because I have been to Yellowstone. Um, I don't know, but it's a little underwhelming, and the actual site's like okay. You do get to experience some of the geothermal aspect of it. You can kind of feel some of the warmth and something. It's not a complete like let's pass it, but if we had to do it again, I think we'd definitely skip that. The other thing too, we liked Carrot Crater. I thought that was cool. But the other crater that we did that was up in the like upper west, that was terrible. It was a complete waste of time. It was a lot of steps to climb up there and climb back down. Don't go there. I would definitely say don't go there. Don't go to that. The other thing I would check is the operating hours. So when we went to that little museum on that same day, but before we got to that not good crater, um, we went next door to the Maritime Museum and they were closed. So we didn't know that. We thought during the week they would have been open, but just double check that. Now that one should be obvious. That was just on our mistake. That was on us. But throwing that out there, just check that. Something you want to keep in mind. Something that maybe surpassed our expectations. It was definitely the hot springs. So for me, right, and maybe some of you can relate. I was thinking, okay, it's gonna be cool because the heat technically is coming from the geothermal aspect, right? It's coming from the earth. That's pretty neat in and of itself. But when you know, water it down, pun intended, it's warm water. It's a big spa or bath or however you want to word that. But I really enjoyed it. They were relaxing by design, of course. As we already went through, they all had their different characteristics that I thought were really neat, and for different reasons, I like them. We agreed that Forest Lagoon was our favorite because of the overall atmosphere, the ease of getting in and out. The service was really good, and I thought the price point was fine. So I think that was our favorite. However, for me, Vakbaz was right behind that because I really enjoyed that we were out on that lake. I thought it was really neat to sit in there, and again, 90 something degree water, look out over the lake and see big sheets of ice floating on the lake. That's pretty unique. Not to mention, you have a chance to go into the lake if you want to as well. So that one was a close second for me. Now, keep in mind, that was the only reason. So if you go in a different time of year, you're not going to get those ice sheets and other stuff. So it may be a different experience for you. Same for us. If we return, we want to go in a different time of year. Bach Bads may not even make it on my radar. Even if we go there, it might not make my list, right? So I think that makes a difference, but that was something that surpassed my expectations. I thought, okay, this will be fine. It's cool. We're gonna go do that. I thought the experience was really good. I would definitely recommend going to do that. Packing tips. So one of the best things we packed was the face mask that you saw, and we talked about that, and the snow goggles. Seriously, one of the best things we packed. Like I mentioned it, I think we were in Golfos maybe, or one of the locations. everyone's walking around doing this because it's so windy. You know it's windy. Again, you do any little research on YouTube, you'll see it's windy. But I think it's just something people don't think about, and I'm glad that we had that idea. We brought the stuff, and I used it all the time. Now, downside, yeah, your pictures are gonna be you and all the gear, right? So something to think about. That's why we tried to remove it when we could at certain spots, or if I remembered, it was usually me. Um, so keep that in mind, I guess, as maybe a small drawback, but that was definitely, I think, one of the best things we packed. That, and I had a really good waterproof jacket. That's why I wore it all the time. That gray one, it was fantastic. It was warm enough, as a jacket, but its real asset was being waterproof. I think that was the best thing that we brought. So we went for a honeymoon. Do we recommend it? Absolutely. So the reason we picked it, and I can't remember if we talked about this or not, was we wanted to go someplace that we've always wanted to go. Iceland was on that list, and part of the reason that Iceland remained on our list when we were trying to narrow it down is it was somewhere we wanted to travel to, somewhere that had great sights and things that we wanted to see, but it was sparsely populated. We wanted this to be a more intimate trip. We didn't want to feel overwhelmed and a lot of hustle and bustle. Like, we don't mind those trips, but for this one in particular, that's what we're aiming for, and I believe we accomplished that very, very well. Even in Reykjavik, which we talk about, it's definitely a big city. I think if you travel outside that and spend some time basically anywhere but Reykjavik, you're gonna get that same experience regardless of the time of year that you go. So I think that worked out really well, and I think for those that are looking for that kind of time to spend together for your honeymoon, this hits the spot. This was fantastic, amazing sights and views. We were in awe every day about something that we were looking at. Obviously, getting to spend that time together as well as in the car, getting to drive together, spend that time. So it was all really, really good. Highly recommended for this type of trip. So how was some of the spots like the Golden Circle, right? Again, you kind of do a quick YouTube search, you research, you'll find very popular stuff. In fact, there's the tour buses that just make that route, right? So you could fly into Reykjavik, get on a tour bus, they'll take you to all those same sites, take you right back to Reykjavik. Were they worth seeing? I think so. Like I said, maybe the geyser one, something you can kind of gloss over, but there's other things to do too. And I think Golfos was really worth it. I think the crater was worth it. I think there's definitely spots on the Golden Circle that are certainly worth it. I forgot to mention. I think one of our other favorite spots, and I think Mars would agree, was feeding the horses. So finding that little spot, and that was actually just north of where the geysers are, on the Golden Circle, and just being able to go out there at will and just feed them and be up close. I think that was really impressive. So that was something really cool. And yeah, again, to wrap up my thought, Golden Circle is certainly worth it, but definitely understand it is more traveled. And I've heard in the summertime gets very busy. I would even recommend trying to wake up very early or go very late. Some of those places are open 24 hours. And if you have your own mode of transportation, the sun stays out, almost the entire time. Just go super late. But something to avoid those crowds, because I think that could put a damper on your experience. So I'm going to end this here. Just some final thoughts. Driving around Iceland was extremely easy. Fantastic. You're on the same seat, left side of the vehicle as you are here in the United States. Um, the van was already set to kilometers per hour. There was a little bit of a learning curve there, but not much. I mean, you just match it to the signs, right? So when we saw 90, and then, okay, we're going 90, whatever it said on the van. That was ultimately pretty easy. Make sure you get an automatic if you don't know how to drive stick. I do know how to drive stick. We just wanted the ease of the automatic. But that's one thing to note. Other than that, I think renting the camper van was amazing. I think we would definitely do it again. Like I said, I think we would just maybe get a larger van just for extra comfort. I also wouldn't mind sprinkling in a hotel here and there. Now that's going to be an added cost, but I think if it was planned, I think that would be fine, and like a way to break it up a little bit. Um, I was disappointed we didn't really get to see a large aurora borealis, the northern lights. I'm glad I got to see a little smidge, and I really did get to see it with my own eyes, as well as capture it on the photo there. But I would love to go back now. Ironically, we'd have to go back more in the dead of winter to see that. We were hoping, based on the time that we chose, Mars wanted to see Puffin, and I wanted to see that. So we got one of the two, luckily, but just barely. But that's why we had chose this time of year, by the way. I don't know if we talked about that, but I think we want to try maybe both. I think next time we want to try maybe towards the end of summer when the crowds are dying down a little bit, but they're still puffing, so we want to go in there. And again, I wouldn't mind going back, even if it's just a brief trip, more in like the dead of winter to try to see that aurora borealis and even deal with the heavier snows and stuff like that we were just kind of catching the end of it on. Um, yeah, final thoughts with Iceland. Like, first of all, you have to like the cold. Obviously, that should be obvious, built into the name, but you really do. Now, for me, I love it. Like I was talking about, I would have even packed less of the clothes that I did, the less warm clothes. I didn't need them. But you have to be prepared for that. Otherwise, they make it so easy. They all speak English. They of course speak Icelandic. Most likely, you won't be able to pronounce anything, just like us, when you read some of the road signs or the names of different places. But that's okay. You have a GPS. Our phones worked everywhere. That was another thing, right? We took the Starlink and we basically didn't need it. Um, so getting around is just so easy. Using navigation, you can get anywhere you need to. Now, of course, if you went further into the highlands, if you go on some of those, they call them F roads, go inland and up in the mountains, you may have a different experience. So keep that in mind. But if you're looking to do basically what we did, travel around the ring road, go around the country, hit the golden circle, that kind of stuff, we had cell reception everywhere we went. There's all kinds of neat little nooks and crannies, little towns. There's a lot of places up on the north and northeast that we would have liked to have stopped, but I felt like we had to keep pace. Ironically, we ended up kind of finishing a day early, even with the delay in Vic, but I didn't know that at the time, and I just didn't want to get stuck anywhere or miss out on something. But yeah, there's a lot of really neat things to do there. So I would say if the weather thing doesn't deter you, and you're interested, there's something piquing your interest, whether it's just the natural sights, the waterfalls and things like that, or the beaches and things like that. Go, absolutely go. Look, if you can only go for a few days, go for those few days. I think that's true of any place, really. If it's something that you really want to go to, it's something that's just kind of biting at you. Do it. Absolutely go. For us, Iceland was amazing. We would love to return and do some different things, but it was a fantastic place. Um, Paying for things was easy. We basically used Apple Pay, a tap, everywhere we went. Except for the gas stations, which we talked about, we had to use our debit card for that because you have to enter in a PIN number. And even then, the first couple times my card didn't work, hers did, and didn't. We had to barter with the attendant, things like that. Um, but otherwise, no, really, it was easy to get around. Oh, the food. So clearly, we did not eat a lot of Icelandic food. We ate burgers and Chinese food and other stuff, but it was really good. I think the Icelandic stuff, listen, it, I guess as long as you can handle some stews or non-traditional, red meats or white meats, things like that, fish, you should be fine. Now, if that's not your thing, do what we did. There's alternatives. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is I really don't think it was that kind of crazy, if you will. It was so easy to get around, so easy to talk to people, so easy to buy things. I mean, beyond that, right? What else do you really care about? Oh, and it was safe, of course. Absolutely safe. First of all, they have one of the best, like crime rates of any nation in the entire planet. But yeah, we didn't see anything that was sketchy. We felt safe everywhere we went. We were walking around all over the place. We did see law enforcement. We saw police officers here and there, but um, just enough, I guess, to know they were there, but nothing. Nothing like certain places here, right, where you're always seeing them, but you're seeing them because they're in action. They got their lights and sirens on, or they're physically arresting someone or something. Um, doing their job, of course. But just saying, we didn't see that type of stuff there. So thought that was really really cool. Getting in and out of like customs, all that stuff was pretty easy. It's the usual. It's kind of like here, as long as you're not trying to take anything crazy, they're not gonna stop you. So having said all that, listen, I think if it's on your list, you should go. It's definitely worth the time. Um, I'm sure we didn't cover every little detail. So, as you're watching this, if there's just something that we didn't answer throughout the series, or you were curious about, or whatever it is, throw it our way. Shoot us a question. We love the comments, and for those of you that have, recently, we appreciate it. It's really cool to interact with some of you guys, and just in general, we love that folks are enjoying our content. So that means a lot to us. We're obviously still a really small channel, but we're trying to grow this thing. So, if you are liking it and you haven't, subscribe, tune in. We got a lot more to come. Hopefully, a lot more adventures that we want to take you on, both local and abroad. So, this does it on Iceland. Definitely, I think it's definitely a two thumbs up kind of situation here. We loved it. We would certainly go back, and we highly recommend it to anybody who's interested in that type of experience. So, sure hope you liked it. I think if you made it this far, you did. So we appreciate it. We know it's kind of a long series. Just a reminder, we are going back to our every Thursday release. We did the Iceland twice a week thing, just to kind of get that out in a reasonable amount of time. But anyway, thank you so much for following us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it, and can't wait to share the next one with you guys. So until then, bye bye.